And we tend to find about 20 to 30% in annual Azure spend in savings. And that's been pretty true across a wide range of Azure revenue.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Microsoft Playbook. Today we're talking about Azure cost optimization, and we're joined by Heath Madison, our Senior Director of Professional Services. Heath, let's start this thing off, man. What is Azure Sprawl?
Thanks, Tipper. To really explain Azure Sprawl, I'm actually going to go back in history a little bit. I've been in tech for over 30 years, and what I find is the world operates on these cycles. Although the fact that I have a certification in Exchange 5.5 is not too relevant, some of the things I've gone through over that time are. One of those, and I look at the same conversations we have with Azure today, are conversations we had with virtualization before. They're just amplified. 20 years ago, virtualization was becoming a big deal in the industry, but what we did is we made it really easy to incur additional cost or sprawl our technology. We went from the days where to add a new server, a resource, or an expense, you had to work with procurement, work with your hardware vendor, make sure you had room in your data center, make sure you had room in your rack in the data center, proper networking, proper cooling. Well, now you push a button and you have another server and another expense. That's how we get this Azure sprawl. We lost some of those checks and balances by making it that easy. That same thing that is a huge benefit, that elasticity and scalability of Azure, is what we have to make sure we're keeping an eye on, because that sprawl can get untenable.
That's a good segue. So tell me, how can we keep an eye on it?
One, we have to make sure we control the sprawl that's already happened. And two, we want to keep an eye on things and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. For instance, we had a customer and their sprawl was, they knew they had an important connection they wanted to make to between Azure and their on-premise data center. And so they were putting in an Azure ExpressRoute, basically a nice dedicated connection. Well, they said this is an important service that we're connecting, and they selected the best, most premium SKU for that connection. And that SKU ran roughly $125,000 a month. So we want to control those things, because we actually did an optimization engagement with them to take a look at that. And what we found is, based on, they were using less than 1% of the throughput of that SKU, of that ExpressRoute. And we actually found what they needed was about an $800 a month ExpressRoute. Obviously significant savings. That's a side effect of sprawl. It was too easy to deploy that cost to provide that service. Now, don't get me wrong, their app ran great, but it would have ran great, and it did after we converted that to an $800 roughly ExpressRoute. Now, how do we control that? So we have those two angles, right? First, bring it into control, and two, make sure it stays there. Because if you optimize everything, right-size everything, do that all once, well, if you don't keep an eye on it and provide proper governance, a year from now we're going to be in the same boat. This is the same with a lot of those cloud-based services.
Talk to me a little bit about Microsoft's delivered services under Azure Cost Management. What does Microsoft deliver from a tool standpoint?
So Microsoft does provide you with guidelines and recommendations that are kind of automated and based on what their algorithms say. So they will let you know, hey, your deployed application or your virtual machine deployed in the cloud, you could right size that, or maybe you should go to a reserved instance or something like that. So it gives you some of those guidelines, but what you find with it is there's no human element to it. And when I say guidelines without the real strategic thought, is just that. If you go implement everything Microsoft recommends, you could end up with performance issues. You could end up with other unforeseen circumstances, reliability issues. And that's not saying their recommendations are bad. But an example I'd give is Let's say you have a system in place that runs a batch job once a month. That's all it does, but it's a critical batch job to the organization. So you have a machine right-sized that will perform during that, overnight batch job, and it's necessary for that night. Problem is that one night is 1/60th of the month. So you may get a right size recommendation that won't really meet your needs, because if you right size it based on the way an algorithm in a tool tells you, now it will be less expensive, but now when that batch job needs to run, maybe it won't perform as necessary. So you really want a consultative strategic approach to kind of bridge those two things together.
Microsoft does offer some tools, but it takes an architect to really get into the details and the needs of the individual customer. Talk to me a little bit about what TrustedTech offers in that way.
With our customers, we really want to help keep them optimized along the way. So as part, we do have a Trusted Advisor program, which will do both. We want to be your trusted advisor with your Azure. So what that does is not only will we help you get your cost in check, we're going to also help maintain that and keep it there for you, so that if we see something trigger that says, oh, there's just been this additional added spend. We saw one customer, they wanted Copilot Studio. 3 days later, they had an alert for a $30,000 spend because they, once again, picked a different performing SKU than necessary. So we were able to catch that, and then we actually were able to communicate with Microsoft and actually get that charge reversed, because it was a mistake on the customer's part. It wasn't intentional. But when we get into the Trusted Advisor program, it's not just about cost. Cost is great, cost is easy, cost is something we can really show leadership. It's tangible. It's very tangible. We were spending this, now we're spending this. And we tend to find about 20 to 30% in annual Azure spend in savings. And that's been pretty true across a wide range of Azure revenue. And we find that's it's not just reserved instances. It's right-sizing VMs where appropriate and strategically. I'm always going to add those in there, right? And that's where the architect comes in. It's making sure you don't have orphaned objects out there, which is very common. You'll have these objects that aren't connected to anything, they're just incurring costs. But it's really about getting to know you and your business so that we understand. But beyond cost, there's other aspects of Azure, right? I always say another thing that happens when you go from within your data center, within the walls of your building, and now you're moving it to the cloud. By definition, you're accessing it over the internet. So we want to make sure it also stays secure. So our Trusted Advisor program goes beyond cost. It works to continuously improve and keep an eye on your security posture in Azure to make sure you're operating across best practices there, minimizing risk to the organization. And then it also adds governance and operational excellence.
Why is Microsoft allowing or pushing some of these efforts to the CSP network rather than handling themselves?
As big as Microsoft is, there's a lot more customer environments at play here. And so if Microsoft can allow their trusted partners and CSPs to help drive some of this, Microsoft has a vested interest in keeping the customers as secure and as optimized as possible, because happy customers will stay with Microsoft. So if they can work with us, who they trust, we hold every solution designation they have available because of their trust in us.
You mentioned the solution partner designations, because I know there are so many different companies for customers to choose from to deliver this type of service. Why would one pick TrustedTech over another?
So it's not just about me sitting here saying that you should trust us. Microsoft trusts us enough to assign us those designations. Those designations are proof to Microsoft that we're willing, able, and capable of delivering on these solutions. Everything from infrastructure to data and AI, to digital and app transformation. We are there supporting our customers when it comes to Microsoft. And that Trusted Advisor is just one iteration of the way we do that. Microsoft wants their partners like TrustedTech to help keep their customers engaged and keep their customers happy at the end of the day. And as big as Microsoft is, they can't scale for the customer demand.
Sounds good. Well, thanks very much for your time, Heath, and thank you everyone for joining us on the Microsoft Playbook. We'll catch you on the next one.